It is hard to walk around downtown Ipswich and not bump into a really old house, built as early as the 1700s, even the 1600s. Like this one right here, the left-hand side, 1680. Gordon, nice to meet you.
Hey, Kevin.
Town historian, I love that.
Yeah, I do too.
You're one of us.
Yeah, well.
So let's start with why Ipswich? I mean, this has more first period houses than anyone else, right?
That's right.
Why here?
Right, and those first period houses are built before 1720. Reason why we have so many is the town fell into poverty after the Revolutionary War and the War of 1812. And it wasn't until the Industrial Revolution that we began to prosper again. So they couldn't even afford to tear down their houses. That's why they were preserved.
So literally people were just trying to get along, keep their houses going, and that helped preserve them.
Yeah, that's right. As a matter of fact, a reporter from Salem, which was doing quite well because it was a nice seaport, came to Ipswich and said all the houses are the same. They're brown, not a lick of paint on them.
Well, we love the fact that a lot of them have been saved, and there's a bunch in town.
There are.
Some very notable ones, which we've seen.
Yeah.
We've got the Whipple House. Tell me about that one.
Well, the Whipple House is really our pride. It's owned by the Ipswich Museum, and that is a good example of a high quality first period house. The oldest part of it built in the 1670s. Right. That was a prosperous family, and so when you go inside a house like that, you really see these fine features, and it's been meticulously preserved.
And all of them are timber frames.
That's right. It was a meticulous work. Everything was laid out in advance. These guys were really smart. They were engineers, and when you put that together, it had to fit.
And you've also got the Payne House, another beautiful example of a first period home.
Yeah, that's really nice. That's owned by the trustees of reservations. And that was a saltwater farm, so it's a little bit outside of the center of Ipswich. That's a meticulously preserved house. You go in a house like that, you still have the cellar there where the milk was kept. The ceilings are low because that's how they built houses back then.
Right. You have mentioned two of the houses owned, one museum, one by the trustees. There are plenty of private homeowners here in town who own these old houses and have a tradition of keeping them up to date. I mean, this one is privately owned right here.
Yeah, this is the William Howard House, and it is a real gem. Been owned by the same family for quite a number of years. Well, the left side seems to be the oldest. The records are that it was built 1680. The right side is 1705. Now that's part of our first period as well.
This is typical of a first period house. We've got a similar overhang. It's the line between the first story and the second story with a couple of the corbels there. But the other features that I see for example, the claps, the roof, the chimney, and all of that. Typical first period.
Yeah, take a look at where the windows come right up to the roof line there. So you don't see a big eave.
Well, and a magnificent example of the outside. I'd love to see some on the inside. Can you show us one?
Yeah, there's one over on Summer Street. It's the oldest street in town.
Lead on.
Let's go. So Kevin, this is the original street in Ipswich. This is the way to the meeting house, or the way to the river, of course, if you were at the meeting house.
This it? This little narrow thing?
That's about it. Of course, it was changed later on, but it has a nice collection of first period houses, the transitional period, 1720 or so.
Including this one, which was built, looks like just 3 years before our house.
Yeah, it has a hyphenated name, the Foster Grant House, and it's built with the same transitional period.
Right.
So the owner, Peter, here has done a wonderful job. I'd like you to meet him.
I'd love to. Peter!
Well, hi there.
You're expecting us.
Well, I'm delighted you're coming.
Hey, Peter.
Hey, Gordon.
Would you mind giving us a tour?
No, it'd be great. Come on in.
Well, thank you. We would love to have a tour. Wow, look at this gem here, huh? Whoa. There's a little
Wonderful.
throwback in time, huh?
Behind you here and tell you a little bit about the house. Lots of cool things in here. What we really love is the summer beam, which a prerequisite of buying the house is that I could walk under it and not have to duck. And you can see the hand-hewn, the adze marks, and there are beams across here, and then the posts in the corners, and there's one right where you walked in there. You can even see one of the original trunnels or tree nails. Yep, right there.
And Gordon, a summer beam, very typical for a first period home?
That's what you look for first of all when you're looking for characteristics of a first period house. Now the really early ones had a wide bevel on the bottom, and then they went to sort of molded bevels, and we see a small, what's called a little quirt bead as they get into that transitional period around 1720, and then they just sort of dropped it all together as they moved towards Georgianizing their houses.
Right, okay, so this wouldn't always have been such a sharp corner. It would not have always been as so closely dressed.
That's right, but we know that was meant to be seen because it sits below the floor joist here.
So Peter, is this the original part of the house, do you think, right here?
Actually, this is not the oldest part.
It gets older.
It gets older if we go into the parlor room. Let's head over there.
All right, let's go see.
The older part of the house.
Oh, feel that bump there. There's definitely a change as the floor comes up there.
Transition maybe between
I
one
think
addition
so,
and the
yeah.
other? Oh, this is quaint. Wow, this is a cozy room.
It is. It's nearly the smallest room in the house, and I can get under that ducking. So the summer beam again, and more of the adze marks. And if you note in the joists, they're all Roman numerals.
Right, sure. 3, 4. I don't see one there, but here's 6 and 7.
That's right.
So key for the builders to be able to
That's right.
assemble.
Become scribe marks. And you imagine they had to engineer and cut everything out in advance, and then like they say, it took everybody in the village to put this huge, heavy building up.
Right. And Peter, what about the fireplace? You have told us that we probably have central fireplaces for these houses. Do you think this is original?
This probably isn't, because it looks like a shallower Rumford style, so it really throws the heat out well. The mantelpiece is probably 1800 or so. That's what folks who worked on the house told us. So it's old, but probably not the 1717.
Right. So that's sort of modern heating right there. You guys
Modern
live
heating.
here.
Hey, we have modern heating.
Yeah.
Do you have any other modern conveniences in the home?
We do. We actually have a kitchen. We have bathrooms.
May we?
Oh,
Go
good.
this way, absolutely.
We're
Yeah.
gonna keep looking to see what you guys did to this beautiful gem.
You see, so this room we call the gun room for obvious reasons, and that was from the previous owner, who was a hunter and fisherman, so that's why we decided we would keep it. And then you come and see what we did to the rest of the house. We kept everything that was old, but this, where we're standing now, was a covered 3-season porch, plywood, a rubber roof, which is about this high, and those windows were all exterior. And we said, well, how can we make this sort of open up the space, not lose any of the old, but add in some new, which would make it a little more comfortable for 2022. And so now I'm in the kitchen. The 1970s kitchen, which we inherited, was exactly this outline here. And we said if we could push out about 6 feet that way, add on that amount of space, we could have a much more livable space, still have our bake oven.
Working?
Which it is working.
Wow.
And here's the old doorway, and we have the wonderful domed oven in there. So
I'm hearing some common themes to what we might try to do with our house. I mean, the timber frames are very versatile, what you can do to them over time.
That's right. So this is a good example, and just don't be taller than Peter. You build it.
Well, you're a
Exactly.
good steward of the house and very generous to show us around. Thank you, Peter.
So glad to have
Thank
you
you,
come by.
Peter.
Hey, good to see you again, Gordon.
Good.
Take it easy.
Really great. Thanks for watching. This Old House has got a video for just about every home improvement project, so be sure to check out the others. And if you like what you see, click on the subscribe button to make sure that you get our newest videos right in your feed.